Welcome back to Fashion here. Time for my review of the 2024 Formula One Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Not the best race, definitely a bit lacking in terms of overtaking, but there was some tense racing, especially towards the end. So it started with Verstappen on pole, Norris P2. Alonso was starting from the pit lane after qualifying in 20th yesterday. Leaders were all starting on medium tires. Verstappen, good start, keeps the lead of the race. Hulkenberg, decent start, up to P8, whereas Tsunoda fell down to P9. Lap 5, Norris had a 3-second gap to Leclerc and was 1.8 seconds off of Verstappen. So seeming like the top two were running away a bit at this point in the race. Lap 9, Albon, Gasly, and Bottas all pit for new tires. And at this point, we hadn't really had a single overtake on track outside of the opening corners. Albon very slow leaving the pits, and lap 10, Stroll overtakes Ocon for P12. But we same lap, we see that Albon pits again, and it turns out that he had a loose tire, basically a loose wheel nut, and he was basically forced to go around at an extremely slow pace and forced to pit again the next lap. So at this point, Albon's race is basically done. Lap 12, Ricciardo pits and comes out in front of Gasly, who already pit. So perhaps a smart move there by the RB, making sure that you don't get undercut. Lap 14, Tsunoda undercuts Hulkenberg, so moves up a position. Lap 15, Verstappen lead is up to 4.8 seconds over Norris, whereas at this point Norris has fallen back a bit and is a bit closer to Leclerc, where the gap's only 1.2 seconds. Lap 17, Albon was under investigation for the car being in an unsafe condition. Lap 18, Perez goes off at turn 17, goes through it on a trip to the gravel, and Stroll right behind him after that. Lap 22, Russell pits and he comes out in 10th. Lap 23, Albon gets a 10-second time penalty for basically having the car in an unsafe condition. Not really his fault, but his race is basically done already. Norris pits, comes out behind Perez. Lap 24, Verstappen gets a black and white flag for track limits. That's something we definitely don't see that often. Verstappen is usually one of the drivers who has the fewest amount of track limits violations. So yeah, definitely showing that he was not having the most comfortable race at this point. And of course, if he got another violation, that would of course be a 5-second time penalty, which would make things quite interesting. Norris overtakes Perez for P5. Of course, Perez hasn't pitted yet, so he was basically just being a roadblock for everyone else. Lap 26, Verstappen pits, comes out 4th. Sainz, I wrote, was likely to be undercut by Piastri based on how things were going. Lap 27, Leclerc, Piastri both overtake Perez for that position. So again, Perez hasn't pitted yet, but both Leclerc and Piastri have. Lap 28, Hamilton goes off at Aqua Minerale. Luckily for him, doesn't lose too much time, only a couple of seconds, but of course would have had some pretty dusty tires after that. Yeah, he pits, comes out in 9th. Sainz also pits and comes out in 6th, so yeah, Sainz does get undercut by Piastri. So perhaps not the best decision on strategy by the Ferrari pit wall there, given how obvious it looked like it was going to happen. Lap 31, Russell overtakes Perez for P6 at turn 2. Gasly pits again, and Norris's race engineer had come on the radio saying that the deg was higher than expected. So that's perhaps a symptom of what we were seeing there with Gasly pitting for a second stop. Lap 35, Norris struggling on his hard tires. Lap 37, Hamilton overtakes Perez for P7 at turn 2. Lap 38, Perez and Stroll plus Magnussen all pit. Perez comes out 11th, Stroll comes out 13th, and Magnussen comes out 17th. And for Perez, he actually lost positions relative to where he was before the pit cycle started, really showing that he struggled quite a bit in that first stint of the race and didn't make up a ton of ground despite being in a much quicker car. Lap 39, Perez overtakes Ricciardo. Lap 40, Perez overtakes Hulkenberg for P9, and then lap 42, Perez overtakes Tsunoda for P8. So despite the fact that that first stint didn't go so well, being on much fresher tires, being on the new mediums versus old hard, able to get that overtaking delta big enough or basically the pace delta big enough that he was able to make some moves. So in the end, it turns out to not be too big of an issue. Lap 46, Stroll, who had also pit quite late, was chasing Hulkenberg down. Stroll then overtakes Hulkenberg for P10 at turn 2 the following lap. Lap 48, Leclerc cuts the chicane at Variante Alta, and Magnussen overtakes Zhou for P15 at turn 2. Lap 51, Stroll then overtakes Tsunoda for P9 at turn 2. Really good strategy from Stroll, really strong race from him today, I thought. Lap 52, Verstappen, at this point it was a bit interesting, he was actually losing time to Norris at this point. Lap 53, Russell pits for mediums. This was a bit of a strange one. You only have 10 laps left in the race, and you didn't really have a risk of anyone really overtaking, and because overtaking is so hard, even if you didn't get back up to that position, you're probably not going to be able to get an overtake done. But I guess perhaps his tires were too worn, and the team, knowing that it was just going to be a switch in position between Russell and Hamilton, didn't really change too much on their side. Lap 54, Verstappen Norris gap was down to 3.6 seconds. Lap 55, Albon retires in the pits. The tire wear on the Red Bull, perhaps not as good as it's been in past races and even compared to most of last year. Lap 57, Ocon Zhou was noted for forcing a driver off track. We didn't really see a replay of that, so not sure what happened there. Verstappen Norris gap was down to 1.6. Lap 62, Norris almost within DRS of Verstappen. Final lap of the race, gap was down under 1 second, but not enough laps left. The laps would eventually run out, and Verstappen would take the checkered flag to win the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. So, not the best race, but, things were definitely quite tense towards the end, especially since Verstappen was at risk of getting that 5-second penalty, which of course would have definitely changed the end result, given how small the gap was. Now, taking a look at your results, so Verstappen gets the win, Norris another podium, so really good result from him again. Third, Leclerc, first podium for him in Imola. Fourth, Piastri, fifth Sainz, sixth Hamilton, seventh Russell, eighth Perez. Rough race from him today. 9th Stroll, 10th Tsunoda, 11th Hulkenberg, 12th Magnussen, 13th Ricciardo, 14th Ocon, 15th Zhou, 16th Gasly, 17th Sargent, 18th Bottas, 19th Alonso. Really rough weekend for him, and Albon was your one DNF. Now, taking a look at the championship, Verstappen extends his lead 161 points. Leclerc, though, now moves up to second, 113 points ahead of Perez in third on 107. Norris now also quite close to Perez, 101 points in fourth. Sainz fifth with 93, Piastri sixth on 53, Russell fourth, seventh with 44, and Hamilton jumps Alonso, so he now has 35 points. Alonso 33 points in 9th, 10th is Tsunoda with 15th, 11th Stroll with 11, Bergman 12th still with 6 points, Hulkenberg 13th with 6, 14th Ricciardo with 5, and then Ocon and Magnussen 1 point each in 15th and 16th. And then your drivers who have yet to score are Albon, Zhou, Gasly, Bottas, and Sargent, all on no points. So there you go. There's my review for the 2024 Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Obviously, a bit of a delayed review, but very busy this weekend. Didn't really have time to watch the race live. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.